Hello, dear friends, and good morning on the 7th of September, Saturday. We will talk about the astrology, how the weekend, and especially the first day, how Saturday looks like. And I gotta tell you that we have a pretty intense weekend ahead of us. So prepare for something more intense, prepare for something that will require more emotional commitment, more dedication, and generally more focused energy. Let's look together. I want to show you. So here is our chart for the day. And the first thing we see is that the transiting moon has just moved to Scorpio, and it will stay there during the whole weekend. When the transiting moon gets to Scorpio, those are the most intense days during the month. Those are the days during which generally the tension is much higher. People are much more sensitive. There could be some kind of issues in communication because the Scorpio energy can trigger some kind of subconscious patterns or some kind of fears. It's a water sign, so the irrational and the emotions have more influence on us. But the point is that the moon isn't strong. The moon is actually weak in Scorpio. So we can be extra sensitive towards the environment, towards other people. And overall, it's more difficult to relax. The moon is the planet which allows us or helps us to relax. This is the planet related to feeling safe, feeling relaxed, feeling comfortable. And when the moon is in Scorpio, it's difficult. It's difficult to feel comfortable and relaxed. So what is then the right approach? The right approach is to do something which actually suggests some kind of intensity. For example, some kind of physical effort or a more intense workout or some kind of energy practice. Uh, it's nice to do something with the body because, again, the energy is pretty high on this level, even on a more physical level. So if you can do something to kind of like direct this energy, focus this energy somewhere, that would be great. But even if it's not about physical exercises or the body, it's nice to focus on something which requires more commitment, more focused, and more depth. For example, if you want to commit to something, get to the root of it, explore it, kind of like get really deep into it, actually the moon in Scorpio is very supportive for this. So even though it may not be so easy for us to just relax and have like a, comfortable, nice weekend, it can be a productive one. Again, if you focus on something where you have to be, like fully prepared, you are ready for some serious effort, you are committed and dedicated. And also what we see is that there are some really interesting aspects that the moon will have. The first one, the most intense one is the square with Pluto, which is more active during the beginning of the day. Towards the end of the day, it will be weaker. So the dynamic will change. Definitely the first part of the day is more intense. We can say also the more difficult one. Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So it's adding even more of this restlessness, intensity, difficulties with groups of people, and overall feeling like you can't really trust or you can't fully relax. But we also have a very nice configuration between the moon, Mars, and Mercury. This configuration is called bisextile. And Mars is also a planet related to taking action. So that's a pretty interesting combination. We have the moon squaring Pluto, but trining Mars. And those are the two planets related to willpower. What that means is that if we feel the pressure to do something by someone else, something external or a group of people or others in general, we may have a huge resistance and we may get into power struggles, fights, and all of this. But if this is a personal choice, we want to do this, it's our like an expression of our willpower, then the process can be quite productive, especially for some kind of planning, some kind of mental work. Yes, Mercury is in the last degree, so Mercury is already weak. Like the decisions may not be final. So the decisions might be changed in a few days after Mercury gets to Virgo in a much stronger position. But nevertheless, it can still be worth it to explore something, maybe even to make some steps in this direction. Again, decisions based on your own will, decisions that you are making on your own and are not necessarily related to others, to groups of people, or to do it together with someone else. This would be the more, I would say, productive, successful strategy. So let's see how the day changes. What are the other aspects that will affect us? So the other aspects are minor throughout the day, which means that their influence is not so obvious and not so much kind of like on the surface. So the main aspects are Mars and Pluto, basically. Mars and Pluto with the moon. But we also have one other aspect, which honestly isn't making things simpler for us. And this is the applying opposition between the Sun and Saturn. A very, very close one. It will be exact tomorrow, but today we are totally gonna feel it. And the Sun in opposition with Saturn also means that we may need to focus on some kind of work or some kind of responsibilities, or we may need to kind of like stay within some kind of frame or possible restrictions, or again, things that we might have committed to earlier. So this aspect also means that now it's not the time to fully relax and, do nothing or expect for things to come out of nowhere. No, it's time for basically working hard for the things that we want. The sun is in Virgo, so it means doing I don't want to say the ugly work, but, this, let me just find the word to describe it better. Kind of like non-glamorous work, this work that doesn't look amazing and very prestigious, or it's more about those tiny little details or things that just have to be done. A little bit like the Cinderella work, the work that nobody else wants to do, and there are no huge rewards for this, but it's important. And Saturn being in Pisces, in opposition with the sun, may mean that we need to let go of some kind of unrealistic beliefs, dreams, expectations, or again, the idea that something will happen on its own. Right now, it will not happen on its own. Right now, it will happen if we do it ourselves, if we do the work. This kind of like, material work that is in the outside world. There is also a town square with Jupiter, so the sun with the two social planets in challenging aspects. So Jupiter is in Gemini, a sign which is not strong for Jupiter. And it may mean that we really need to focus more on the details. Here, it's a bit tricky. So from one side, we need to be mindful not to get lost in too much details or exaggerating them, or I love this expression, don't major in minor things. So we should take care of things, pay attention to the details, but make sure that we are not kind of like losing ourselves in unnecessary details or being like too punctual. So again, it's a tricky part, I know. From one side, we shouldn't neglect the details. Okay, Pisces in opposition with Virgo, so we should not neglect them. We should not be like, oh, let everything flow and things will happen on their own, and no, that's not okay. But also we should make sure that we don't go into the opposite polarity of trying to control every detail and again losing ourselves in too much details or too many details. It's this tricky balance that we need to find. But again, the Tau square is a configuration which brings a lot of potential and strength. If we are ready to commit, to do the work, then the results can be pretty nice. They may not be immediate. Saturn can delay things, so you may not be able to see the rewards right away. The rewards may not be, again, as glamorous as you would like, but it doesn't mean that the process is worthless. Right now, we should focus on this work that just needs to be done, taken care of. And this is especially important for people with Sun or Ascendant or other planets in the mutable signs. So Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, but also Sagittarius. If you have planets there, especially, well, I would say from the 10th degree until the 25th degree of those signs, then the Tau square will trigger your chart. So you will be more influenced by this Tau square. So some plans that may need to be reconsidered. But again, here, make sure that also you are not losing your faith. Saturn in Pisces can be a bit misleading. And again, we need to be mindful not to get into the extremes. So from one side, we shouldn't have some kind of empty optimism, like being over optimistic and again detaching from reality. So that's not okay. But also we should make sure that we are not going to the opposite polarity, like totally losing faith and being extremely pessimistic. It's really about finding the balance. So letting go of the unrealistic, empty optimism. But also, if you're over skeptical, you can let go of this as well, because that's also not the right strategy. Jupiter in Gemini is in a weak position, but Jupiter in Gemini is very practical. So we should kind of like evaluate more concretely, more objectively, how things really are. Gemini and Virgo, their strength is to name things as they are, especially Gemini. It's like, I have this. What is this? Okay, it's a pen. What kind of pen? Well, it looks like a blue pen. Here I have, let's say, a notebook, or I found a flash drive. They still make those. I haven't used one for a while, but I had to recently. So it's like looking around yourself, your life, and kind of like really defining things. I see a pen, this is a notebook, this is my computer. And based on this, you make your plans based on the things that you can kind of like list, see, name in reality, objectively. In other words, objective evaluation. When Jupiter is strong, and one of the rows of Jupiter is to help us find or define the map. People with strong Jupiter, they are very good with their orientation. So Jupiter is the planet which helps us to have this proper orientation. Right now, it may not be easy or even possible for us to see like the big picture of your life or where we are going, like long term, and again with this huge perspective. This may not be possible right now because again, Jupiter is weak in Gemini. Saturn is in Pisces, the sign of Jupiter, in opposition and basically playing this town square. So right now, we may not be capable to see this full perspective. And we shouldn't try. That's not possible, and we shouldn't hit our heads in the wall. But we should rely on the things that are kind of like, we have this expression, under our nose, around us, like the pen, the flash drive, the notebook, like the things that I can see that may help me also to have this proper orientation. So if you don't see things long term or the huge picture, that's okay right now. You shouldn't force yourself to find a way to get there. There will be a time for this, but it's not right now. Right now, it's about the immediate environment around you, your present life, your present situation, defining it as it is, seeing it objectively, without criticism, the Virgo criticism, without empty optimism, without losing faith, just like, as I said, describing things as they are. This will help much more. So this Tau square will be active for, well, at least a week from now. But which means that all of this will be true and will apply to us. But during the weekend, again, the major focus is the opposition between the Sun and Saturn, which will be exact tomorrow. So tomorrow I will show you the beginning of the cycle. So this is the culmination of this Sun-Saturn cycle, which means that we can kind of like see the results or something that can manifest or something that we may need to let go of. But when did this process start? This is something we will discuss tomorrow, and I will show you how you can find this out. So that's the overview for today. As you can see, it's an intense day. Yeah, it's not one of those for total relaxation, but it could be, there's energy. There's definitely energy. It's intense, it's tough, but if we use it properly, then we can get some things done. So enjoy your Saturday. Make sure to do something which requires, more strength, more commitment. Don't lose your faith. Also, don't get into those, unrealistic expectations. Instead, try to look around yourself. Basically, that's the best you can do. Try to see things as they are. The best strategy right now. Enjoy your day, my friends.